Welcome back to Work More. This is day 3 of breaking down college basketball slates. So yesterday, most of the games got canceled to COVID. I know that the Baylor game, quite unfortunately, got canceled. The UConn game got canceled before we were able to start. But it was an interesting day of basketball. So looking back through, Kansas almost lost. Wright State, which we said we liked a lot, ended up smacking the team they played. Hofstra got upset. Chicago State still sucks. Yeah, so there wasn't a ton of games. South Carolina stayed right at 10. I think I said 70-62. It was 77-67. So interesting overall. Besides the point, we're going to go into day 3. I had a lot of comments and feedback through all of this, and it seems to have been enjoyed. So if there's anything you want to see in specific, let me know. We'll go through it. I'm enjoying making these, just knocking them out on a daily basis. I believe the last one was 13 minutes. I should probably go a little more in detail. Today's slate actually is not the time to do that. It just isn't a very good slate. It's pretty ugly. But in the future, I will be going more in depth into the important games, as in like the Baylor-Gonzaga game that was supposed to be today. I should have went more into detail into, and we will in the future. So if you have any ideas, anything that you want to see from this, let me know. And without further ado, let's get started on Sunday. So we're going to use Actions apps per usual. So if you're new here, we're just using the Action app. For their basic lines, we're going to use some publicly available information. These are just my leans, my opinion on the game, just based off what I know from sports in general. This is a broad view of looking at the sports. I need to make myself bigger. If you're watching this or listening to this on Spotify, I have this on YouTube so that you can see what I'm doing exactly. And I feel like that's probably more useful than just listening to me. But if you're just listening, obviously that is better than nothing. And I hope that I bring some sort of value or merit to your time. But I personally think that watching what I do has to help more than listening. So besides the point, let's get started. So the first one is Villanova, +2 at Texas. I think that Texas is the team that Vegas just loves right now, or Vegas as in the public. It's just a persona of Texas is one of the best teams in the nation, and they are very good. Don't get me wrong. But they shouldn't be a 2-point favorite here versus Villanova team. I know that Villanova might have an injury. I believe Samuel might be out. If he's not, I think that Villanova +2 is very nice. I think that Villanova should have been a favorite here. About probably 1.5 would have been a reasonable line. But to give 2 points to such a veteran team and such a good team in Villanova, they consistently in and out is a team that you don't want to bet against. I think Texas just isn't enough yet. They're a really good team, and we backed them in the first half versus Davidson, and they showed that even when teams were shooting good, Davidson was hitting everything that half. They could still find a way to equal out on offense, and then their defense would get it done eventually. So they're a very good team. This is no knock to Texas by any means. I think that they're a top 5, top 7 team. But 2 points versus Villanova this early in the season is not optimal, I don't believe. So the next one we're going to go to is Missouri, Wichita State. I was actually really impressed with what I saw from Missouri in the Oregon game. So we had Oregon in that game, and Missouri, I wouldn't say that they played exceptionally well against Oregon. I think Oregon played really bad in the sense that they were just making stupid turnovers, which is their fault, yes, but Richardson got announced he wasn't going to play 3 minutes before tip, so not having your starting point guard really makes it kind of tough to not have turnovers early, but Missouri, give them as much credit as they deserve. They capitalized on those. I believe they had 47 points in the first half, so they were hitting everything, and so I was really impressed by the veteran, just the step up of Oregon, a very talented team, would continue to make strides to try to come back. They brought it within 5 halfway through the second half, and Missouri just kept finding a way to pull back into double digits, and it impressed me. I think Wichita State, there's been a lot going on with Wichita State, and I think that their name in general just brings a little bit of public love, because Wichita State has been such a good team for so long. But I think that if you can get 4.5, 5 for Missouri here, that's a good spot. So next we have Xavier versus Cincinnati. Xavier's a 2-point dog here, 2.5 it looks like. I don't think Cincinnati's done enough to prove themselves. They played Lipscomb, I believe, and Lipscomb covered. So there's not enough for me to say that they can justify the 2.5 points. I think this is a pretty even talent matchup, and if anything, I would say that this should be pick'em. So again, +2, I would have to lean towards Xavier on this one. Little Rock off of a loss. Little Rock's a really good team. We talked about them the other day. I really like this Little Rock team. I think that they have a lot of scoring capabilities, And Central Arkansas is not a good basketball team. I think 9 is a pretty respectable line here, and I could see this one closing about 10.5, 11, even 11.5 wouldn't really surprise me, but I think 9 is a pretty loose line. So this is probably one of my favorites to look at to start this day. Similar to like how Wright State was yesterday. I think this line is just a fundamental of them playing a Winthrop team that was a really good team, and they scored 80. I mean, Arkansas Little Rock did a good job. They scored, I believe, 75 in that game. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I believe it was 80 to 75. So I know that they still play quality basketball. They're a good basketball team, and there's no way this shouldn't be double digits. So I'll definitely lean Little Rock here. Next one, we're going to skip a lot of these, is Michigan and UCF. So I'm actually taking the favorite here in Michigan, laying a lot of points versus UCF team that is probably getting a little overhyped from an Auburn win. They scored, I believe, like 63 in that game. Auburn was able to out-rebound UCF. UCF just shot slightly better. They both shot terrible, but Auburn shot, I believe, 7 for like 34 from 3. They just couldn't get much of anything going. And watching that game, it was just overall sloppy. I don't think UCF was a good team by any means. And so to get a win versus Auburn on their resume, they're going to be hyped up a little too much. And I think this Michigan offense is very potent. They've scored in the 80s consistently, and I don't see UCF being able to keep up with that. So I'm going to have to take the 11.5 here, though it is very ugly. Michigan isn't that great of a team so far. I think that they have the potential to be good in March, but as of now, they really haven't proven themselves, and they've stayed in some close games that they shouldn't have. So 11.5 just doesn't feel very good, but it's definitely the side that I would be on in this game. Next, this is going to be a really good spot. I think West Virginia minus 10 versus Georgetown. I think Georgetown's one of those teams similar to Wichita State that they get points just because their name. You assume that Georgetown is going to be good every year, but they're not that good this year. So I believe they just lost to Navy. I believe Georgetown lost to Navy 78-71, and they beat UMBC 70 to 62, still scoring about 70 per game. I don't see them being able to score 70 versus a very good West Virginia defense. And the most important thing here is that I think West Virginia is going to come in a little pissed off of a loss where they were up versus the best team in the nation. They have a little bit to prove, a little bit on their shoulders. And 10, though it's a lot for a team that doesn't really score that many points, I think that this is a very good side to take West Virginia in a good situational spot. I think 10, no matter what, would have been a good number. Like in a neutral sense, that if West Virginia hadn't just lost and Georgetown was just like, if these two met up with no momentum either way, I think 10 to 11 is a good number. But West Virginia off of a loss, needing to prove themselves early, I think that this is a good spot to back a team that is ready to play here. So then this line should have been about 12.5. Here's an interesting one. I think this is going to be the most bet game of the day. Georgia Tech versus Kentucky. So 6.5 just seems very low for me. I'm actually much higher on Georgia Tech than most people are this year. It was our first bet of the year, was Georgia Tech, Georgia State. Went to 4 overtimes and lost. Unfortunate game. I think that Georgia Tech is a really good team. They have a lot of talent, a lot of potential. That being said, I think 6.5 is way too weak. If this hits a 6, I will definitely be considering it for an official play. Kentucky is a very well-coached team and very talented team, and they are every single year. And can Georgia Tech compete? They have the ability to do so, yes. But I think that you're going to have to see the absolute top of Georgia Tech's potential to be there. And so if they want this game to be high, like close in the late game, they're going to have to shoot upper 40s, mid 50s to be in contention. And that's a bet I'm willing to go against in Kentucky's talent being able to force them into bad shots. So this is the game that we're going to look into. Bart Torvik and Ken Palm, we're going to check what they think this game should be. Again, if you're on Spotify, we are on YouTube every single day. We're showing these websites and telling you how I would look at this from a public availability knowledge. So Bart Torvik has this at a 5-point game, which is actually surprising. Let's see here. So they're saying that Kentucky scores nearly 80 points a game, and then they're saying they're going to score 73 here, which seems a little weak. So, see, I guess you could consider these two losses as red points on Georgia Tech that are probably stronger than they should be. But I still just can't comprehend 6.5. I think 6.5 is too weak. They actually don't have a metric for them there, so we're gonna go check. KenPom has this as a 6-point game, so nothing really crazy on either of these. But I still think if you're gonna pick a side, it has to be Kentucky. And if this gets down to 6 and those late game free throws come into play, Kentucky always has good free throw shooters. They're always a really well coached team that make the right decision. And I think that you're getting a good side at 6. So I would play with Kentucky and feel pretty safe with myself. Michigan State, I was not impressed with at all the other day. So I have stated, and I will state again, I think Rocket Watts officially has to be considered my favorite player in college basketball history. I think having a lead defender and such a slasher with the name Rocket, I really don't care. Like it doesn't matter what else he does. I think that, and with that, he put the team on his back the first half of the last game. And I said my opinion on the game was first half. And though they didn't cover, Rocket tried to get there for us. So I think I'm going to have to lock in the Rocket Watts, my favorite college basketball player. Heard it here first. That being said, I would not touch this game. 24.5. They haven't done enough on the offensive end to prove themselves. Langford's been banged up, as always. I don't know if he's going to play, so we're going to stay away from there. And we're only going to hit one more for the night. I don't know enough about these games, and I need to look deeper into them, and I don't want to tell y'all opinions that I just am making up or assuming, or I really don't want to have to go and research to make these. This is just me trying to give my opinion and break down games that I feel that I have enough knowledge bases on. So that's what we're doing. So like, for instance, Detroit, I have an opinion just based off watching the Michigan State game. They look like a really good team. Notre Dame, I know, is not that good of a team. I believe they got smacked around by a team earlier this year. So 15 plus 15 seems like a really good spot here. It's already 13.5. It would make sense, but I don't want to lead anybody to that opinion as I don't know enough. I don't know enough about their players or situationally how they do. So I'm just not going to give any opinion on it. The last one that I do feel I have a decent opinion on is Seton Hall, Penn State. Seton Hall, I believe I've talked about this. I have a future of them plus 20,000 to win the national championship. I did talk about this last night. I remember now that I say it out loud. So I feel like I know Seton Hall's team good. Their point guard, the Harvard transfer, is out, I believe, still. So that hurts. But I think that this is a good spot to back Seton Hall off of a loss versus Oregon. Oregon's a really good team. They had a transfer come in. They were off of a loss. They needed to win. And so it was a bad spot situationally for Seton Hall, and it makes them look worse than they are. I think 1.5 points here versus an average Penn State team is a bit ridiculous. And I had this at a 2.5 point favorite to Seton Hall, leaning towards 3 points. So to get them as an underdog is a bit ridiculous. I would take oh my gosh. I don't know if there's no way y'all can't hear this. It's ridiculous. So I apologize for the street racing behind the camera. Hopefully it's not too loud, but yeah. So Seton Hall plus points is what I would take here in a pretty short and boring slate. San Francisco. Oh my gosh. San Francisco, Nevada. That'll be a good game. There's no line out yet. Oh, it's canceled. Never mind. Oh, wow. There's a lot of games canceled. So COVID is taking its impact early this year. That is for sure. So we're going to run through the board real quick. Dane actually made a cool little graphic. I was talking about it, and I didn't even tell him I was going to do that, and he put it on the screen there. So that was really interesting. Shout out to Dane. He does a great job editing these all the time. I appreciate him very much. So I'm going to go Villanova plus the points. We're going to take Missouri -5. It looks like is what you're going to get here. Oh, there's actually a Florida line out now. Did not talk about Florida, so we're going to take Xavier plus the points. You can get 2.5 here. So this is, I talked about in my educational video, and I think this is a good point to make. So look here, +1 is available in some books. 2.5 is available in a book. So to take that ability and that advantage of getting 1.5 points is so essential in betting on sports, especially college basketball, which is a highly fluctuating sport. I want all of you to have as many books as possible so that you can get things like this. Typically, you won't see 1.5 points, but you'll see half points all the time. And that is so important that to the new guys, anybody new that's watching this, I cannot express how important that is over a long-term basis. So Xavier plus 2.5. Little Rock -9, 9.5. It looks like now you're not going to get a 9. We had Michigan -11.5. We had West Virginia -10. Looks like it's going to go to 10.5 here soon. Kentucky -6.5. Wish we could get a 6, but 6.5 still seems like a fishy game. But we're going to take Kentucky, the more athletic, better coach team. And Seton Hall plus. Why does this not have lines throughout? That's strange. But Seton Hall +1.5. I would take the money line. Should get about +115. And yeah, so that is probably one of my favorite spots of the day. So we'll just scroll through the favorites one more time. But I would say Seton Hall, Kentucky, West Virginia. I believe I was talking about another one, but Little Rock. So those are going to be 4 good games. I think this Sunday we're going to get a decent amount of good basketball. Unfortunate yesterday that we didn't get to see, or today as if I'm recording this, we didn't get to see Gonzaga Baylor. That was going to be a great basketball game, but hopefully it'll be rescheduled and Suggs will be able to play. So hopefully we can make it through Sunday with no COVID issues. And it has been a strange year so far. Remember to take into consideration whenever making any bets that COVID does play a major factor, and figure out how you can take advantage of that. So how have your teams done when traveling? How have they done dealing with things? And one thing that I've noticed, and I was actually telling a friend this while we were sitting at dinner tonight, is he bet on the Rice under because the total is 163.5, and these two teams are that are typically playing teams that get blown out by. So Houston Baptist is like a big major college blowout team. So them seeing Rice is a much less significant game. They don't get as excited for that game. So 163.5 seems like a bit of an over exaggeration, especially with no fans. And I believe they hit 150. So that kind of idea of just taking the idea that COVID still is a thing and it is going to affect these games, whether that's lines or totals, you have to take it into consideration, and it is a hard thing to try to understand, especially if anybody uses Killer Sports. I don't believe that they are updating their college basketball this year. If anybody knows Killer Sports and I'm wrong, and you know where you can find updated college basketball information, please let me know, because I have not been able to see it, which is annoying. So besides the point, those are our plays. I'm going to go to bed. Hopefully this will be edited for you guys in the morning. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you subscribe. If you enjoyed it, like it. And we have so much more coming. We have an educational video, should be posted Monday. I believe that'll help everybody. It is a video on the best tips to make money, real money, sports betting. I have a whiteboard down there with all the tips on it. It is basically just talking about the importance of closing line value and understanding books, what is brought into the line. So people all the time ask me, like, did you know that blah, blah, blah isn't playing today? And it's public information. It's already put into that line. So to understand what Vegas knows, what they don't know, and how you can find an advantage. So that's what that video will be on Monday. Again, thanks for watching, and I'm out. So